Finally, we are introducing our flagship. We've been working intensively on Mixanimo PRO for a long time, and now we're releasing its very first version to you. By watching this half-hour tutorial from start to finish, you'll be able to combine and edit animations from Mixamo for your own character, or rig your character with animations already applied. Let's get started. First, let's see how to install the add-on. From the Edit menu, I click Preferences. Make sure you're in the Add-ons section. Click Install from Disk. In my Downloads folder, I have two add-ons. Mixamo Combined. This is the add-on we'll use for the rigging system. You can download it from our page. If you purchase the Pro version, this will also be included. Mixanimo PRO. This is the add-on we'll use to do everything related to animations. I install the add-ons one by one. So, where can I see them? By pressing the N key, I can see them on the right-hand side. As you can see, both are ready. First, I want to explain the Mixanimo add-on. The add-on has three main sections. The first one is the Direction section. I'll explain this last because it helps us combine characters facing different directions. When we click Load Action, we load the animations. I'm bringing the animations into the scene. I move this one aside. Right now, there are two animations in the scene. When I click the Load Action button, both are listed. When I click on an armature, it gets selected. Let's expand this. I will always assign animations to the first armature, so I want to move it to the top. To move it up, I use the arrow buttons on the right. Before we proceed, let me introduce the interface. The character's facing direction at the top is the part we'll use later to combine animations from different angles, so we'll skip it for now. First, let's look at the Load Action section. As you can see, there are check marks here. You can assign multiple animations to one character from here. If you want to assign only one animation to a character, just uncheck the Unwanted Animations checkmark. Notice that animation names look long and messy. To rename them, just click the pencil icon, type the new name, press Enter, and confirm. For example, I typed 1, walking, pressed Enter, and clicked OK. As you can see, the name changed. The nice part is that the name is also updated in the collection section. Now, for the second one, I rename it to Run, press Enter, and confirm. When I click on the animation names, the relevant armature gets selected. From the first animation, I want to explain the details. Here, it shows the number of frames. For example, you can see how many frames long the animation is. The X multiplier shows how many loops we want. For the animation, we can set any number. For example, if I type 10, this animation will loop 10 times. Or I can set it to 1 and change it with the arrow buttons. The next direction-related settings will be explained when I show you the Direction section. Now, let's get into details. I open the NLA editor. As you can see, two different animations are listed here. Notice that the name changes I made earlier are updated everywhere. This makes things easier. Let's start simple. I want the character with the walking animation to loop 10 times. I can remove the other character because the animations are already loaded. So I'll keep only the walking animations checkmark on. I want the character to walk 10 times and turn off the running animation for now. After clicking Confirm Order, I press Send. Once I press it, the NLA editor lists all the walking animations in a single strip. In our Pro version, loop animations are arranged in a single track, which automatically ensures a smooth transition. Next, I want to combine different animations. For this, we must select the armature. I want 3 walking animations and 3 running animations. I don't need the second armature, so I remove it for now. Here, I want to show you overlap frames. I click Confirm Order and Send. The animations appear. Let's zoom out and play from the start. As you can see, it's that simple. The overlap frame's value controls the transition between animations. The ideal value is usually 3. We can adjust this from the strip section on the right. This is important. Replace must be selected. Blend out must be set to 0. Blend in can be adjusted for the smoothness you want, but if it's too high, the character may jump to the center. For example, I set it to 6, you can see the change here. But I also need to slide it inward a bit, now it's smoother. However, the higher this value, the greater the chance of sliding issues. I prefer to keep it at 4, then adjust the strip to the right until I get the smoothest result. Later, when we do the rigging, we'll be able to fix small issues completely. Let's play it again. Walk first, then run. Cool. Now, let's move to the next step. I want to play 3 animations in a sequence. File to import to FBX. I add the run stop animation, move it left with GX. When I click load action, the new animation is also listed. The name is strange, so I rename it to run stop. Now I have 3 animations. I'll assign them to the first armature: 2 walking loops, 2 running loops, and 1 stopping animation. Click confirm order and send. I can remove the extra characters. Press N to hide the add-on panel. As you can see, the animations are arranged in sequence. Just like before, you can set overlap frames to 4 and move them left or right for smooth transitions. From the side view, you can see the transition: walk, run, then stop. You can combine as many animations as you like this way. However, one warning: the more the animations complement each other, the better the results will be. In this section, I'll explain how to combine animations that move in different directions. I'll go from simple to more complex examples. Right now, we have 2 animations in the scene. One is a straight walk, and the other is a turn to the left animation. I'll combine them. First, pay very close attention to this. It doesn't matter where you are in the scene, but the character's facing direction must always match the axis direction. At the moment, my character is facing the negative y-axis. Therefore, in the interface, I must select negative y. This step ensures that animations moving in different directions will align correctly. Since my second animation also starts on the negative y-axis, I don't need to change anything right now. The character will walk twice, then switch to the turning animation. I click confirm order, then send. Let's see the result. In the NLA editor, the animations are now combined. I play them back, let's zoom out. I press N to go full screen. The motions are combined. Perfect. As you can see, the animations blended nicely. Now, let's increase the difficulty a bit. I'll undo the action and press N again to bring up the add-on interface. This time, I have walking and run animations. Here's what I want to do. After the character turns right, I want it to keep walking. That means I need 1 more walking animation. I duplicate the walking animation by pressing Shift plus D. Now I have a copy. Using G and then X, I move it to the left. This will be the animation that continues the walk after the turn. But here's an important detail. To see the animation in the list, I click Load Action again. Now the duplicate appears as walking 01. I want this second walking animation to play right after the turning animation, so I move it to the 3rd position in the list. That means first walking, to then turn right, to then continue walking. I check the axis, still on negative y. Cool. Now, which way should the 3rd walking animation rotate? It should turn left, meaning a negative x-axis rotation by 90 degrees. For these steps, make sure the armature is selected. With the armature selected, I click confirm order and then send. Now, the character turns and continues walking. There's a small jump here. To prevent that, I align it exactly at 0, because the same walking animation doesn't really need a blend value. Okay, now it plays. Walk, turn, and continue walking. There's still a slight skip here. Since I'd set the blend value to 1, I also set the transition frame count to 1 and shift it 1 frame inside. Now, let's check again. Yes, this looks much better now, smooth and correct. Let's raise the level 1 step higher. In the scene, we have 2 animations. One is a walking animation. The other is a 180-degree turn, followed by continuing to walk. I'll combine these 2 animations. First, I'll combine them without entering any direction information. At this stage, combining is very easy. I select the armature I want to assign the animations to. 1 animation each will be enough. I click Confirm Order and then Send. Let's see how it looks. I press N to hide the panel. Yes, as you can see, the turning animation played, and then it continued walking. But here's where problems arise. When I try to add another animation afterward, for example, I duplicated the walking animation and moved it aside. Now, I click Load Action. This becomes our second walking animation. I rename it and move it to the 3rd position in the list. The goal here is, after the character turns, it should keep walking. But let's see if this is possible without entering any direction values. Again, 1 of each animation is enough. I select the armature, click Confirm Order, then Send. Let's check. The character walks, then turns, as expected in the animation, but then turns back again. And here lies the problem. The character continues walking along the negative y-axis again. This is exactly where the Direction tab saves us. So let's undo and start fresh. This time, I want the walking animation to continue in the opposite 180-degree direction. Therefore, for the 3rd walking animation, I enter 180 degrees in the direction field. This way, after the turn animation, the walking animation will continue in the new direction. But remember, you must always select the correct facing direction from the Direction tab, depending on where the armature is pointing. So, in this case, we'll make the character move 180 degrees opposite to the negative y-axis. I click Confirm Order and then Send. I remove the unnecessary armatures. Now let's watch the animation. See? Perfect. Let's also check from the side view. I hide the add-on panel. Now, the animation continues properly in the new direction. The small jumps you see here can be fixed with the blend value, as I explained earlier. For example, if I set it to 4, the transition becomes softer, but in this case, it caused a break, so we can't set it too high. Be careful. When you're using direction settings, high blend values can cause issues. So use small values to avoid distortions. I'll show you more advanced, smooth transitions later in the rigging section. Now, as you can see, our animation keeps going forward in the new direction just as we wanted. Next, I'll raise the difficulty another step and show you the final example. All right, let's push the add-on a little bit. There are 4 animations in the scene. Let's first see what these animations do. The first animation is running. The second one is running while looking back. The third one is getting hit. And the fourth one will get back up again. Now we are going to combine them. First, I'm combining them without entering any direction information. Let's see what kind of result will come out. I open the NLA editor and I will combine the animations. What I will do is very simple. While the first armature is selected, after clicking Confirm Order, I click Send. That's all. To avoid confusion, I removed the unnecessary armatures. Now let's watch. My character came, turned, got hit, and got back up again. However, as you will notice here, the character rotated about 180 degrees. This direction change is something we will be able to fix with the Direction tool. Now I undo. This time we will do it by entering direction information. I had no direction problem with the first 3 animations. Only the 4th animation, the kip up animation, rotates about 180 degrees. For the kip up animation, I set it to 180 degrees. But here, the facing direction of our character must always be selected. I selected the negative y-axis. After Confirm Order, I click send. Now let's watch again. Our character came, got hit, and is where it should be. But if you notice, there is a sliding issue. Fixing this sliding is very easy. When we set the blend-in value on the right side to 1, we will prevent the sliding. However, here we have an angle issue. Let me rotate the scene like this. Let's go closer to the character. We need to fix this angle issue. To set this angle difference exactly, we need to give the correct value in the load action panel. For example, I set this value to 188 degrees. After confirm order, I click send. When I do this, my animation is automatically updated in the NLA editor. There are jumps in my character. To remove these jumps, I set the blend-in value to 1 again. Now let's see. The angle is still not correct. As you can see, there is still an angle difference between the first and second animations. You can find the correct angle by trial and error. Instead of 180, I give 192 degrees. After confirm order, I click send. Then I set the blend-in value to 1. So why didn't we enter the blend-in value from the overlap frame section of the add-on? Because in other animations without direction changes, a blend-in value of 3 gives a softer transition. But in animations with direction changes, it can cause jumps. Yes, with 192 degrees, the head angle is almost the same in both. But what is disturbing here is that the armatures of the arms suddenly change. We can solve this very easily from the timeline panel. For this, we need to do bake. I will explain the bake process in detail a bit later. But right now, I want to show you how we will solve this problem. To do a bake, there is a very sharp transition here between frame 185 and 186. To make this transition smoother, I increase the distance between the two animations. Let there be empty keyframes in between so I can give a transition. Look, when I move it into empty space, my character does not move. Here, I will add the proper transition. Thus, I will fix the sudden arm movement from up to down. Do not be afraid of this empty space. When we bake the animations in a moment, you will understand what I'm trying to do. For the bake process, while the armature is selected, I selected the animations below and clicked the bake button. All the frames you see have been created. Even in the gaps we gave between the two animations, static frames have been created. Thanks to these static frames, I will be able to make a smooth transition. I open the timeline panel. As you can see, all the frames are lined up in the timeline. Let's look at the transition area here, this section. That is, this interval. I zoom in here. Here, frame 194 and frame 189, where the previous motion started. These are the empty frames we created. The motion starts at frame 195. So, I can delete the static frames between 194 and this interval. When I delete these frames, the program will automatically create the transition. See? Now I play it again. Yes! It created a wonderful transition. You can easily smooth out the transitions of animations you don't like with this method. Now I start this part again. As you can see, we have achieved a very smooth transition. The only step we will take next is to return to the NLA editor again. While these frames are selected in the action section, and the next step, we will rig the character. Thus, our character will perform the same animation, but with rigging applied. As you can see, the transition is now very smooth. Now first, I want to show how the add-ons bake feature works together with the Mixamo add-on. Let's say we have a walking animation and I want to loop it. 6 loops will be enough. I open the NLA editor. There are 6 walking loops. I clicked confirm order and then send. Look, our animation is created. Great. Now I want to rig this. To rig, I first need to do bake. With the armature selected and the animation selected, I press the bake button. As you can see, my animation was baked. From this stage, when the frames are visible, I can perform the rigging. Please do not press this down arrow button on the left side. At the stage where the frames are visible, we can rig. For rigging, I go to the Mixamo add-on. I press the Create Control Rig button. I select the animation and click OK. Now our character is rigged. As we can see, I pressed N to hide the add-on. Let's play it. Look, our animation continues, but now rigged. So, how will I modify this animation? Let me show that as well. I explained this in detail in the earlier Mixamo rig video. You can also watch it there. The same logic applies here. For this, we need to switch to pose mode and work in the timeline. Look, all the frames are visible now. To work in the timeline, I need to press the record button. The order doesn't matter. I switch to pose mode. Now I can edit all the poses. For example, at this stage, I can move the character's hand. Using the options on the left side, we can work more comfortably. As you can see, I can rotate it. I can make adjustments here as I like. Or, let's say I go to the torso area. I can apply operations there too, or press G to move it entirely. From now on, any changes I make on this frame will remain in the character. So, frame by frame, we can make whatever edits we want. That's the nice part. Now let's combine and rig two different animations. The same logic will apply to these as well. I add another animation. After walking, I'll make it transition into a slow run. I rename the second animation to slow run. I click OK. Yes, look. Here I want to show you a useful feature for transitions. Now we don't need the second armature anymore. I want 2 copies of each animation. With the armature selected, I clicked Confirm, Order, and Send. Look, they are arranged. The biggest problem here is sometimes characters jump to the center during transitions. I play it, and yes, there is a sliding here. What's the reason? The reason is sometimes the timeline stays in record mode. I open the timeline, turn off recording, and undo everything again. During these steps, make sure timeline recording is not active. Now, I come back to combining animations. Here, 2 copies of each animation will be used. I clicked Confirm, Order, and Send. Let's check again. The same problem happened again. The reason is, when I brought in the second armature to the scene, the timeline was recording. Therefore, the movement of the second armature got recorded. To get rid of this, I re-import the characters to the scene. After importing, I list them with load action one by one and rename them. I select 2 copies of each animation. I click Confirm Order and then Send. Now let's check. Look, here there's a hard transition. I want to show you different methods to fix this. If the transition between 2 animations is not as smooth as you want, don't worry. Solution 1, change the blend in value. For example, I set it to 4, or depending on the case, set it to 2. You can adjust it depending on the situation. But still, the transition may not be smooth enough. Let's say the blend in value didn't solve it. Solution 2. Leave empty frames between the animations you want to smooth. I leave some empty frames here. Then, when I bake, I can add the desired transition into this gap. Look, here it paused, then continued moving. In this case, we will fill this gap with frames to smooth it. There's no need to overextend. Just enough to smooth the transition is fine. I left enough empty frames to adjust the foot movement, etc. Then, I selected all animations and clicked Bake. It didn't work. Why? Because I didn't select the armature. I select the armature and press Bake. Now Bake is created. Look, all frames are lined up frame by frame. At this stage, I move to the timeline. In the empty frames at the transition, I can edit as I wish. Look, my character came, stopped, and then moved again here. At frame 64, the motion starts again. Between frame 59 and 64, the motion is frozen. In these 4 frames, we can create the desired smoothness. First solution. I can delete these frames. Then it will automatically continue with a smooth transition. I zoom in. Notice here, there is a smooth transition. But if you look at the foot movement, there is a slight slide. How do we fix this? We can fix this by rigging the character. My character is already selected. I can stay here, no problem. Now, I go to the Mixamo add-on, press Create Control Rig, and click OK. Now my character is automatically rigged. Look, all frames have been created once again. From now on, I switch to pose mode. Then I can fix the foot sliding here too. For example, I can keep the right foot fixed in place. So I copy this frame and paste it into the other frame. In this way, frame by frame, I can make the exact kind of smooth transitions I want in my character. We've reached the final stage. In this stage, I'll explain loop animations and how to rig them. For this, we'll need a running animation. The fast run example will work fine. Here, the character is running. Duplicating the animation is now very easy. I expand the add-on. How many copies should we make? Let's type 10. We don't need overlap frames because it's the same animation, and in the NLA editor, it lines up perfectly without overlap. I click Confirm Order and then Send. As you can see, our animation works smoothly. But now, I want the character to run in place. To do this, I first click Bake, and then I press the Stable Root button. As you can see, the character is now running in place. Now, let's say we also want to rig this. Please never forget this step. We can only do the rigging when the new action created in the NLA editor is visible frame by frame. At this stage, I open the Mixamo add-on. I click Create Control Rig. With everything selected, I press OK. Now, the entire animation is rigged and moving properly. I don't need the lower actions anymore, so I remove them. Now, as you can see, our animation is fully rigged. Let's say I want to edit the character's movement while it's running. That's also very simple. I switch to pose mode, open the timeline panel at the bottom. For example, at this frame, I can change the position of the foot. Let's see if the change applied. No, it didn't. Why? Because I didn't press the record button on the timeline. I start recording and try again. Now the change works. This way, we can edit any movement in our character. We can also apply this process with multiple animations. Let's test the Stable Root feature with different animations. I add another animation to the scene, the walking animation. Be careful to keep the timeline closed. Otherwise, Blender will record any movement you make, causing unwanted shifts in the animation. I open the NLA editor, move the walking animation to the left. I press Load Action, and the animation is listed. I move the armature I'll assign to the first position. Each animation will loop 3 times. I set the overlap frame to 3. Perfect. I don't need the second animation, so I remove it. I click Confirm Order, then Send. Next, I press the Bake button because I want to use this animation with Stable Root. Then I press the Stable Root button. Now, the character performs all movements at the origin. I don't need the lower ones anymore. Also, after applying Stable Root, I can still rig the animation. Let me remind you again. Rigging can only be done when the action is visible frame by frame. I open the Mixamo add-on. With the armature selected, I click Create Control Rig and confirm with OK. I press N to hide the add-on. Now, the character performs all animations while staying in place. Especially those working with game engines often complain about the errors that occur when exporting in FBX format. We solved this problem with a single button. The button is still in beta, but it already delivers excellent results. Let me show you an example. We have a running animation. First, I'll loop this animation and then export it from Blender. After that, I'll export it again using our custom FBX Export button. I want to show you the difference. First, I bake the animation and export it as FBX from Blender. Then, I use our Export FBX button and name the file Mixanimo FBX. Now I delete the armature from the scene. I'll import both FBX files back into Blender. First, let's import the animation I exported using Blender's own export feature. As you can see, it has added unwanted extra armatures, unfortunately. This is a common issue. When you save an animation as FBX in Blender and re-import it, you often face these problems. Even if the animation itself moves correctly, the broken and duplicated armatures are extremely frustrating. As you can see, there are unnecessary bones. Now, let's import the version exported with our FBX button. I had saved this one as Mixanimo FBX. Look, no deformations at all. The character is imported exactly as it should be, with all armatures intact and in their original places. I play the animation, and it runs perfectly without a single glitch. Now, let's make it harder. Can we successfully re-import a rigged animation as FBX? First, I'll try it using Blender's default export option. After rigging the character, I export it as FBX and name it Blend FBX. Then, I use our Add-ons Export FBX button and save it as Mixanimo FBX. I delete the current character from the scene and import both files. First, the Blender exported rigged version. As you can see, the armature is badly deformed and broken. Now, the version exported with our button. As you can see, it works perfectly, no deformation, and the animation is flawless. So, with our export button, you can export any animation sequence or rigged character as FBX at any time. You can also re-import the FBX into Blender to continue working on it. Even better, you can rig it again and make further edits. Our export button is still in beta. If you encounter any unexpected issues, please let us know. We'll continue improving it. I hope this add-on makes your work easier and helps you create inspiring animations. We apologize in advance for any unexpected bugs you might encounter. As the Mixanimo team, we're continuing to work hard to deliver more advanced tools that will make animation even easier in the future. Best regards.